Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Confident Chics Conversation. I'm your host, Lucky Shook Copeland, and we have a very special guest with us. As always, we always have very good guests that come on that want to talk to us. And today's topic is very important, very dear to my heart. And today, my guest today, her name is Miss Chanel. Chanel, are you here with us today?
I am here.
All right. And so, Chanel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Chanel McCord. I am the CEO and clinical director of Oasis Wellness Group, which is a mental health counseling center and mental health advocacy agency. I live, breathe, eat mental health. It's what I love to do. Yeah, it's my love. I don't know how else to put it. It's my passion. I love to educate and see people thrive in their mental health and just embrace their humanity. I'm also a speaker. Above doing the counseling couch work, I love speaking, being able to take it to different audiences, bring it to people in ways that they can hear it for themselves. I'm also a mental wellness coach, so I help people with mindset coaching, and I am the author of Jumpstart Your Journey to Mental Wellness: Strategies and Tools to Living Your Well Life, which is basically a book that I wrote to help clients take the tools that I use in the counseling room and use it in the real world. So that's just a little bit about me.
A little bit. How do you keep up with yourself? You're doing a lot.
That's a good question because I didn't even mention I'm back in school for my doctorate
Really? Wow.
and I'm a minister at my church. So I
Gosh.
didn't mention all of that. But yeah, listen, mental health, that's how I do it. I take care of myself.
And so, for our audience that don't understand what mental health is and how important it is, can you just tell us what is mental health?
Yeah, mental health is basically, in a nutshell, when we talk about mental health, we're talking about your emotional well-being and we're talking about your thought life. What is happening in your mind? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis, right? Like, are you feeling quote unquote normal? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you constantly feel like you're walking around in the fog? For many people, their mental health is suffering and they don't even realize it because they've spent most of their life, if not all of their life, feeling a certain way. And when you get accustomed to thinking a certain way, when you get accustomed to feeling a certain way, what happens is you automatically put that into the category of normalcy, not realizing, oh shoot, it's not normal to be anxious all the time. Oh shoot, it's not normal that I'm always feeling down inside and depressed all the time, right? And so it's basically the state of your mind and emotions. What is happening in your mind and what is happening in your heart?
Okay, and so it sounds like I know it's a stigma with mental health. People automatically think you say, "Oh, I need therapy. I'm going to get a therapist, or I take therapy." That that you're crazy. So
Right,
then we know that it's far from the truth, right?
right,
And
right.
so what would you? So what are the signs that someone may be suffering their mental health?
I think some of the biggest signs that someone is suffering their mental health, if we're talking about those inward signs, it would be you just have lost a vigor, a luster, and a passion for life, right? You feel like you're just getting up and you're going through the motions every day. Like nothing excites you anymore. You can't, things that maybe you were once passionate about, you're not passionate anymore. You're not excited to go about your day. So that passion, that luster for life is just gone. But then on a more like practical, I guess, physical side is how people are keeping up with themselves. Maybe you were the person who, you got up every day and you threw it on, honey. Like hair is fried, dyed, laid to the side. Makeup, your face is beat to the gods and all of that. And then one day now you're just walking around, your hair looking all whatever, and you just throw on sweatpants or whatever. You just throw on clothes for the sake of having clothes, right?
Mm.
That is a process called decompensation.
Wow.
Decompensation. And a lot of people will begin to decompensate, and you start to notice their appearance, and not even just their dress, but their countenance. Like, they used to look bright. You know how you see somebody and you're like, wow, you're glowing. Well, that glow
Right.
just kind of disappears, right? So those are more practical things to look for. But I think for a person, if you're judging for yourself, just that passion, that luster for life has gone away, and you're constantly feeling overwhelmed, you're constantly feeling sad, or just anxious or worried all the time.
Wow. And so, do you see that there is like a greater need for mental health in the minority communities?
Oh my, yes. So that's actually my specialty. I specialize in working with Black men and women, and Black and Brown communities in general, because it is such an underserved population. And when we look at throughout the generations, minority communities, for many different reasons, are suffering at greater levels when it comes to mental health than many other communities, and are getting the least amount of help. Now, I will say things have started to change. And I think because one of the reasons why minority communities have suffered is because we didn't believe in it. We,
Right.
we have a lot of traditions, and we have a lot of thought processes about what it means to talk with a therapist, or what it means to seek help, or these different things. And so it took a while for the community to catch up, to say, uh-oh, like, we may not actually need this help, rather than, go drink some ginger ale and lay down, right? Or and you'll be all right in the morning. But the reality is, I think as we move further and further into the generations, certain generations are starting to see, okay, this ginger ale and lay down thing ain't working. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
something else has to be done. And so now we're seeing minority communities seek mental health help at levels we have never seen before.
Right, absolutely, because it's just not a thing that you hear like back in the day that you hear black people talk about. I know my parents never mentioned going to a therapist, or if something happened, somebody died or something. Therapy just wasn't something that we talk about. You know what I
Right?
mean? And so, how do you change those stigmas towards mental health?
Stigma changing in mental health is a community thing, not a one person thing. When I look at, and when we talk about changing those stigmas, it really is it becoming more acceptable to all in talking about these things, right? And I think that now in this generation, more and more people are more accepting of talking about it, and talking about it openly. Because before, going to therapy was such the secretive thing, right? It's like, oh, you don't tell nobody that you're seeing a therapist, or like, it's like the world's greatest best kept secret. Now, these generations are going on Facebook real quick and be like, yeah, let me tell y'all what my therapist said.
Right.
And so I think the openness to therapy, the openness to talking about it, that people have when it comes to mental health, it is really helping to break the stigma, because it's becoming acceptable conversation. It's becoming normal conversation, rather than something we have to bury under the rug and keep it a secret. Because what happens is, when I'm open to talking about it, other people see, like, oh, okay, this is the thing. So then we all can be open to talking about it, right? And I tell
Right.
my clients all the time, one of the greatest signs of your healing, and one of the things I always watch out for my clients, and I know that they're meeting a place that they're healing, is when they start telling me how they've helped somebody else.
Right.
There's always a
Exactly.
switch in a therapeutic relationship when my clients is like, yeah, my brother was going through this, and I started telling him this, that, and the third. And then all of a sudden, I hear me coming out of my clients' mouths. And they're taking the work that they've done in counseling, and they're helping others, because that means you've reached a place where you're not so self-focused, and your issues are beginning to resolve, that you're able to open your eyes and see what the next person needs, and you're able to help them as well.
Right. And you mentioned that you are a minister. How do you bridge? How do you work to bridge therapy with your church?
Yeah, I'm very blessed in that I serve in a church, Restoration Station Christian Fellowship, Edgewater Park. Woo woo. Um, I serve in a church with pastors. I love my pastors, Bishop Dorian Morgan, Pastor Joy Morgan. They are very open and accepting about mental health, and they push it. A lot of ministries aren't. And so I'm very blessed in that not only do my pastors push it, they even give me an opportunity to talk about it with the congregation and different things like that. And I like to tell people, I'm not a Christian counselor. I am a clinically licensed therapist who possesses clinical skills, who happens to also be a Christian. And I'm married
Right.
to, because there's a difference, right? There's a difference.
Yeah.
When you come sit on my couch and you're saying you want Christian counseling, you're gonna get Jesus, but you're gonna get these clinical tools.
Right.
We're going to talk about the Bible, and we're going to talk about biblical examples, and we're going to talk about how to shift mindset, and we're going to talk about depression and understanding the signs and symptoms and stuff of that, right? And so I've learned to marry the two, where my Christianity and my Bible doesn't drown out the clinical skill, because the reality is the Bible is a self-care manual. That's a whole other conversation for another day, where God shows us how to live a life in such a way where we can be free and free from suffering. That's
Right.
another story, for another day, or whatever the case is. But it's, if we'll go to a doctor, then we should be okay with having the same kind of help and going to someone to help us with our mind, just as we would with our body. And so for me, it's learning about how to marry the two without drowning one or the other out.
Right. That is so true because I know it seems like church back in the day they wanted to embrace it because you have marriage counseling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you might have a counseling program where somebody member wanted to have counseling or they wanted to talk about some things that they can call the church and set up that meeting. But it's not like ongoing. It's not like that ongoing that person is just what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I do see that the shift is like marrying it to that you can go to a therapist and you can still be a believer as well.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And it's not always easy. It takes some, I don't know if I want to say it takes some getting used to, if you will. But
Mhm.
I think when you find, when you go to a ministry such as mine, when you find a way to be open and accepting about it, and again getting rid of stigma and understanding that it's okay. Like, nobody feels guilty about going to the doctor because they have a cough, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't feel guilty about going to the doctor because my mind hurts. Like, it's the same
Right.
concept.
Yeah, exactly. Or I feel guilty about taking cough medicine.
Exactly. We don't feel guilty about these things, right? So then why do we feel guilty about doing what we have to do as it pertains to our mental health?
Right, exactly. And I think people just don't feel like that, that depression. They feel like, oh, it's something that I just have to deal with, or they don't feel like there's a way out of that depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, what are some other topics that you speak on?
So, all things mental health, mindset is has been a huge thing for me lately, and a huge love for me is just helping mindset, especially like entrepreneurs and goal-getters, tapping into that population, because our mindset is such a huge aspect of who we are, and in so many different ways and in so many different areas. So I love talking about mindset and helping entrepreneurs and helping people to overcome in that way. Of course, like breaking stigma and different things like that. Self-care is like huge, 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 huge for me. I actually have a women's conference coming up in April, that I'm excited about. And our theme this year is selfish. We're going to
Oh
be
wow.
talking about self-care in all different areas of our lives, because I just feel like self-care is something that people miss out on. And we have to remember that self-care is a must. It is not a weekend. I like to say it like this: self-care is not a binge event, it's a lifestyle.
Right.
And many of us go on self-care binges, where it's like, okay, this is self-care weekend, and we'll do that once, I don't know, twice a year or something like that, or whatever, instead of making it a lifestyle. So self-care is a huge thing for me, and is actually a part of the research that I'm doing on my doctorate as well.
Okay, and exactly what is that? I know some people say, "Oh, I'm going to the spa, and I'm doing some self-care and going to get my hair done." But exactly, I know it's much more than just take a day and, get your nails done. Exactly what is self-care?
Right. So self-care covers, it's not just relax it. So I don't want to sit here and say, no, it's not going to the spa, it's not getting my hair done. That is a part of self-care. But self-care is also, if you're a woman, staying on top of your mammograms, right?
Mhm. Right.
Making sure that you're doing your annual physicals with your doctor. Make sure that you're at the dentist every 6 months. It's also making sure that your house is in order, right? It's self-care is all of the things that we do to improve ourselves as a person. Therapy is self-care. Going to the doctor is self-care. Going to get my hair and nails done is self-care. Having a vacation is self-care. Going to church is self-care. Like, reading books on professional development is self-care. It's all of the things that we do to improve ourselves as people and to help us not have this constant overwhelming sense of just being overwhelmed and not enjoying life. It's all of the things you need to do to take care of yourself. It's taking naps when you need to take a nap. It's
Right.
going to bed on time. It's drinking your water. It's making sure that you have a balanced diet, right? All of these things encompass self-care. And the thing about it, it's often all of the things that encompass self-care are the things that we neglect because we don't even look at it and see it as something that self-care related.
Right. How do you make self-care a daily regimen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, one is going to the gym. I love my gym. I go to a group fitness women's gym, almost like a CrossFit gym. And for me, when I first started going to the gym, it was a weight loss thing until I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. When I lift heavy things, I feel better. Like
Mhm.
I started to notice that the days that I went to the gym and I got up in the morning, I went to the gym were my most productive days. Like
Wow.
I was super productive. I was getting stuff done. I would eat better because I felt good about myself because I'm like, oh, I just came for the gym. Surely I'm not about to eat chicken wings and French fries and hamburgers and all of this or whatever and undo all that hard work I did. Right. And so I know for me is getting up and going to the gym at least 3 to 4 times a week in the morning, it's I'm on a journey of staying hydrated. I know water seems like such a small thing, but we really need to drink water. Like water really helps us. So drinking my water daily, it's finding a few minutes. Like I'll be honest with you, like this morning I got up, I had class, I had training afterwards, and you best believe I found time to snuck in a nap before we did this podcast interview. Okay. I had a
Right?
little I had a little 90-minute break and I was like, okay, I could work on this paper or I could go over here on this couch and I could sleep for a little 60 minutes. And so you best believe I got my little 60-minute nap in because I was tired and I feel refreshed now, right? So
Right.
I know for me, it's finding those moments that are about me during the day. It's staying on top of my health, staying on top of my doctor's appointments. It's, finding those things that bring me joy. I love quiet. I love to sit in the quiet. And so I always find moments throughout the day where I can just sit in the quiet, even if it's for like 20 minutes. I just love to sit in the quiet, put my head back or, scroll social media or whatever, but everything around me is quiet. So for me, there are many things that I learned for myself. I love to do self-care wise, but I feel like routine helps. Like when I have a routine and I have time built in it for me to do whatever I want, like sometimes I don't build in or put my schedule, oh, take a nap. I just like to have the free time and whatever I'm feeling in that moment, that's what's going to happen,
Right.
and that's my self-care. That's how I keep up with it.
It sounds like putting yourself first. I know a
Yeah.
lot of times people put themselves on the back burner, do everything
Mm-hmm.
for everybody else, but never take the time to invest in themselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not saying I'm a pro at it. Please don't get it twisted. Just because I'm a therapist does not mean that I have it all together. But
Right.
from where I was to where I am now, I've come a long way, and I'm proud of that for me.
That's awesome. And so, talk a little bit. I know we talk about mental health, but just talk a little bit about mindset for entrepreneurs or goal getters and things like that.
Yeah, mindset is important because I think when you're an entrepreneur and go-getter, you have like this hustling mindset, right? Like you
Yeah.
like by any means necessary, I'm a hustle and I'm a grind. And all of that is cute and all, but hustling and grinding will end you up in an early grave too, where
Yeah.
you will never be able to enjoy all the things that you've been hustling and grinding for.
Right.
And people have to understand that, right? And also, when we talk about for entrepreneurs, you may be able to get to a certain level of success, but if your mind is not right, you won't be able to sustain at that level.
Right.
And for a lot of go-getters and hustlers and entrepreneurs and all these things, it's like a lot ignore the personal work that you have to do. Personally, I feel like that if you're going to start a business and you're an entrepreneur, the very first thing you should do is sit on a therapist couch for at least 6 months. And the
Mhm.
reason why I say that is to make sure there's no underlying traumas, make sure that there's no underlying triggers, make sure there isn't anything that you've done that will get exposed once the pressures of success start to lay on you. Because
Right.
pressure comes with achieving goals, pressure comes with success. And what happens is people don't account for the pressure of success. And so they jump up and they're just like, okay, we're going to do this. And then the pressure starts to come. And then what I call in my book, that ugly green monster, which is mental health, it begins to seep out because you didn't do your work.
Right. And then you start reverting back into things that you said you'll never do again, and
Exactly.
right, and then the covers become uncovered, and a lot of times we look back and see people fall from grace and be like, wow, how did that happen? It's
Yep.
because wasn't practicing self-care or mental health.
Yeah. And what we have to understand is the higher you climb, the harder to fall.
Right.
And so once you reach a certain level of success, when you fall, it's going to be a harder fall because you went to a greater level. And so when it comes to when we talk about self-care of the entrepreneur, you have to make sure that your mind is right, that your mind is in a good place so that when you reach this certain level of success, you can actually sustain there and you won't crumble or crack under the pressure of success.
Right, exactly, absolutely. So if you had one last thing, a piece of advice you would like to give the audience to sum up everything that we talk about today, what would that be?
That's a good question. I guess if I had that one piece of advice, it would be unashamedly courageous and have the audacity to take care of you. You have one you, and once that one you is gone, it's gone. We all get one life, and every day that we live means that we're getting one step closer to the day that we die. And don't leave this earth not being able to enjoy life. Don't leave this earth having just gone through the mundane and you didn't have the opportunity to enjoy none of the abundance that comes with life. If you find yourself in a place where you can't enjoy life, where nothing makes you happy, where you don't know what fun is, that means it's time to do some internal work on yourself so that you can reignite that passion and that vigor for life.
Absolutely. I definitely enjoyed this conversation with you. You talk about things in a new way that I never heard of, and new like your view on self care. It just was a great conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And where can we find you? Because I know we would definitely like to stay in touch.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Oasis Wellness Group. I'm also on LinkedIn as Chanel McCord. You can find me there. My website is www.oasiswellnessgrp.org. But if you want to stay in touch with me and all that I have going on and daily motivation and inspiration, IG and Facebook is the way to go.
Absolutely. And do you have anything that's upcoming that you can invite my audience to?
Yes, 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 ladies. So it's a little bit away, but the Rhythm of Life Women's Wellness Conference, our second annual conference, is coming on Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's being held at Rowan College at Burlington County in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And registration right now is only $99 for regular registration. And then we have an awesome VIP option for $139. But listen, I have some dynamic speakers. Like I said, the theme this year is self-ish. We're going to be talking about this self-care thing, all things mental health. We have some surprises in store. Our goal, we're going to be partnered with the National Alliance of Mental Illness New Jersey, the African American Division, and just it's just going to be so many awesome things. We're going to have nurses there doing health checks because we really want to get the message of self-care out there. So if you can join us, go ahead and register right now at the regular rate before the price goes up.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Chanel, for coming on and having this conversation with us about mindset, mental health, and self care. Thank you for sharing your expertise and passion with us.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to talk about what I love with your audience.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for tuning in and listening to the Confident Chicks conversation. Bye bye.